The Hispanic community lags behind in home ownership. We discuss some of the barriers and opportunities to home ownership. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare. For more information, call 1-888-569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.
Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. Home ownership has become more and more of a challenge. We discuss some of the barriers and some of the opportunities to become a homeowner. Joining me, my guest is Madelynn Tejeda. She is a loan consultant with Newrez Home Loans. Welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I know we know each other for quite some time.
Yes.
And I see you have a beautiful T-shirt underneath there. I want you to open your jacket there and show it. It's Latino Rez. Tell me what that is.
Well, Latin Res is our employee resource group that our company has, and is comprised of, various Latino cultures that we have not only in New Jersey but all through the United States.
So this is an ERG.
Yeah, it's for the whole company. So it's kind of neat because when we get together, and albeit virtually most of the time because we're in different locations, it's nice to interact with everyone and come up with plans and volunteering and just supporting each other. Our company is very much ingrained in community and service and volunteering and things like that.
And I know you are involved in the community.
Yes.
You're also a board member of the Hispanic Association of Atlantic County, so we're colleagues in that realm as well.
100%, and again, I'm very excited to be part of that as well. It's my first year as a board member. I was just a member before, which is great. It's awesome. And now I get to see a little bit of what goes on in the background, which is definitely a new challenge. So looking forward to it, to learning more, actually.
Well, we look forward to your contribution, but let's talk about home ownership and some of the barriers. I know you have some data with you in terms of the outlook of home ownership for Latinos in New Jersey. Tell me more about that.
Well, I wanted to showcase the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals home ownership report, or state of Hispanic home ownership report for 2023. And it will show, for example, in New Jersey, there's about 2.1 million Latinos, and about 40% of those Latinos are homeowners, which is fabulous, but definitely some improvement could be made of driving that home ownership more.
Yeah, and the gap is significant, right? From 40 to 63, the general population in terms of home ownership. Why is it important to become a homeowner?
Becoming a homeowner, you can go right to where everybody goes and say, building wealth or generational wealth, which is absolute truth, especially, for me, I get to see it. I have been in the business for a very long time, and I have a lot of repeat customers. So it's kind of neat to remember, oh, wow, he bought or she bought or they bought the house for XYZ, 5 years, 10 years ago. and has appreciated and see that that reward on that equity, and see it as a potential plan for retirement, potential plan to sell, and use some of that gain to buy another house, or rent it and leave it, a little longer. So it's actually kind of neat to see that progression in my customers as they come in. But let me just add that even though you can say the generational wealth and building wealth, there's also, I think, just as important, a nice state of mind with having something that is your own. And it gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of growth and moving forward. And even though it does not have a dollar value, I think having homeownership gives you riches in other places.
It's certainly the American dream, right, to become a homeowner for many. Certainly that is the dream. Let's talk about some of the barriers, and I know
Sure.
There's a few barriers to homeownership. Let's talk about some of those.
Believe it or not, as far as credit is concerned, we are in 2025, I still find customers that have not opened any credit. And it's very important because if you look at it from a lending institution point, how do we gauge that this person pays on time is through the credit. And when I speak with younger generation and millennials and Gen Zers, and that's something that I talk about. Hey, build your credit. So I'm finding that it's a little bit of a lack of credit there. I do find even older clients that don't have that have not built credit, especially depending on where you're coming from. Sometimes in our countries, I always say, cash is king.
Right.
Here in the United States, in my personal opinion, credit is king.
Right.
I pay everything cash. I don't like liabilities. I don't like credit cards. I don't like anything. But yet again, we definitely, please build your credit. Pay it on time, super important. And remember to not overspend.
That's a good point, because I know when people think about credit history, they're usually thinking about, hey, did you pay on time, et cetera, and also how much credit you do have. But the fact that you don't buy stuff on credit, it certainly could hurt you, because you're not establishing that credit history that you need for the banks to consider lending to you.
Right. Actually, as I progressed in my career, I have found that in the recent years, before it was about, hey, maybe things were not getting paid on time, and I saw some lates and things like that, and you'll counsel people about that. Not to say that it doesn't happen today. No. But what I'm seeing more, in what I see as a loan consultant, is more the establishing of the credit.
Is that a significant problem within the Latino community per se, or is that just across the board?
I don't know if it's fair to say across the board. I think it's a little bit exclusive to our community. It happens in any community. What I'm saying to us is because we're coming from that background where our parents, ourselves, and the people that are close to us, are not coming or have not been not coming from countries where credit is developed. So it's not something that is talked about in our household. It's not something that sometimes is taught to us to build that history.
Yeah, and I know the many who are becoming the newer homeowners, right? The Gen Zs, for example, may have witnessed some of their parents losing their home due to that economic turndown, where there was a lot of foreclosures. So people have seen that, and maybe in their eyes, right, maybe credit is not the main thing for them, right?
Yeah. You go through something like that, and you have definitely some hesitancy of building credit again, although it's so necessary.
We're going to continue this discussion. We just need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Madelynn Tejeda with Newrez Home Loans. Madelynn, we just talked about credit history, the importance of credit history. Just before we go into some of the other barriers, real quick, what are some tips in terms of how people could monitor their credit history?
You know, I see various ways that folks do it. They can go to the free annual credit report website that all of us can go at least every 12 months. I see folks, you know, signing up to monitoring applications and services and things like that. Myself, I'm signed up with a credit monitor. I think the best thing is be diligent, especially identity theft is on the rise. You want to definitely, more than anything nowadays, monitor your credit, make sure nothing is coming on there. And also gives you an opportunity to see how you're doing, you know. And so much information on those apps and those websites, keeping your balances down, your utilization ratio down, so you can improve your credit score.
And I know that some of those services do give you those tips. You know what you could do to raise your credit score.
So much better.
Let's just go into the debt to income ratio. Tell me how that's a barrier.
Well, it is a barrier in the sense that, for us, the technical definition will be housing payment, the new housing payment that you're about to acquire, plus your current liabilities divided into your income. That's really what we're looking for. You know, I say to my clients, I know you're looking at the price of the home, but I'm looking at the payment, and I'm gauging that payment with your current liabilities into your income. And where it becomes a problem is when that debt to income ratio exceeds. And when does it exceed is when you take on too much liability. That's where you need co-signers and things of that nature.
So I do see a great deal of folks that max up their credit. They're right. They take out too many credit cards, et cetera. And so that's definitely deterrent, a barrier to getting a loan for home ownership.
It definitely is, because that can actually cut both ways. Not only having a large balance on your credit cards, but also that will tend to pull down your credit score when you have a high utilization, and of course a higher balance on that credit card would be a higher payment, and the higher payment will then take away from your qualification or the client's qualification.
I know that some people have made the mistake of closing an account where they had maybe a high credit limit, just so that they're not tempted to use it. But that's actually good, right? If you have a good amount of credit available and you're not using it, that does play into your credit score.
Oh yeah, and there's so much, again, so much information about it in so many websites, but that is absolutely correct. Think about it this way: when you close a good paying history account, you're taking that away. It's no longer fueling into your credit score. It's definitely something that I say to clients before you close anything, you know, let's have a conversation and go over it. So.
Now, obviously, it's very important to keep the debt down. And one of the things that we found is a lot of people are subject to scams, right? And that does have an impact on their credit as well. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. If somebody opens up a credit card or a loan under your name, and now you have to freeze your credit, you have to dispute your credit, file police reports and things of that nature, your credit score will definitely take a hit, which again goes back into, having some sort of credit monitoring service that, available to you, or seek it out, or at least look every once a year on those free annual report websites. Because if somebody does open that account, and I've seen it, it's really very difficult to it's not impossible, but it's definitely difficult to clean it up.
So the third barrier is the down payment. That's usually a problem because I guess for most homes you need, what, 20%?
No, actually, that's a myth, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, because you have so many different loans. Our company, for example, does a lot of VA loans, and VA loans in general, with whatever, it's just traditionally zero down payment. You can put more money down. You can put money down, but you don't have to. Then you have FHA, which the minimum down payment requirement is 3.5%. Conventional is 3% of the sale price. So no, 20% is not required. Of course, the more money you can put down, the better it may work out as far as the payment's concerned. But even, in today, sometimes even coming up with the down payment, because it's not just the down payment, you also have the closing costs to buy a home. And that's sometimes a little difficult to save up when you have, your rent, you have the high prices of rent going up, and groceries and things like that. And it's definitely sometimes a challenge.
Yeah, and I know that you cannot borrow money to get the down payment, right? Because that's a no-no, correct?
Yes, that's definitely a no-no. You can borrow from assets that are your own, like your 401k, your pension, but any borrowing against your credit cards or taking personal loans to purchase a home, that's been a no-no for as long as I've been in the business. That's been a while.
And I know some people do turn to their, family or friends.
Oh, for gifts?
As long as it's a gift, right? Not a loan.
Correct. As long as it's a bona fide gift, that's absolutely allowed. And I see that quite a bit, actually, in our business.
So the closing
costs, yeah,
could be, it's also part of the down payment, or how does that work?
No, actually, great question. It's a two-part. And when I speak with clients, I tell them, you might say to your friend, I bought a car for $5,000, but did you really? No, you pay for registration, you pay for the taxes, right, and the tax and inspection fees and paperwork fees and things of that nature. For a house, it's kind of like the same way. You have your down payment, which is the minimum requirement for the program that you're utilizing. Like I say, if you do in VA, zero down payment is usually required. Again, not every scenario will fit, but let's say traditionally that will be zero down. USDA is also zero down. Your down payment is just that requirement for that program. Let's say, again, if you do an FHA or conventional, but then you have the closing costs, which is, title searches, appraisal, homeowners insurance, your escrow account, and all those things is a whole separate.
Is there a general ballpark of how much the closing cost could range?
I think I can say what I've heard other people say, because when I do my numbers, I try to be a little bit, as accurate as possible. I've heard people say, 3% of the sale price is generally what a closing cost will be.
Well, we talked about some of those barriers. I want to talk about some of the solutions. We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on Facebook and YouTube. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Madelynn Tejeda. She is the loan consultant with Newrez Home Loans. We talked about some of the barriers, and we also talked about some of the opportunities and some of the tips. Obviously, for your history, your credit history, you need to be vigilant to make sure you look at it, right, and maybe get a free credit report. And certainly for that debt to income ratio, it's so important that you tone down the credit card usage. It's okay to have that positive balance in terms of your available credit, but certainly don't max those credit cards out. Use less of those credit cards. We discussed down payment, and although there are some free or rather zero down opportunities, it's always better to have a down payment, and there's some opportunities to be able to get dollars basically towards a down payment. Tell me more about that, especially the New Jersey Home and Mortgage Finance Agency.
Yeah. New Jersey Housing and Mortgage and Finance Agency has been around for a long time. In 2017, I want to say, they actually came out and offered more assistance towards the down payment. It was $16,000 back then, and then next year it came out to be $10,000. It's a down payment assistance program because it's not a grant. Sometimes people confuse it. It does have some requirements, like if you stay in the house for 5 years, don't rent, don't sell, physically live in the home, and some other requirements. The 5-year mark, they will forgive that assistance that they gave you. And it's up to $10,000 in Atlantic County. And there's an additional $7,000, which is really interesting. They came up with that about a year or so ago. Is for first generation, first-time home buyers as well. Say if your mom, dad doesn't have a home in the United States or outside the United States, as an example, they will tack on another $7,000. Obviously, there's a little more to it, but the idea is to let people know, hey, there's that opportunity of down payment assistance through one of the agencies like New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. And there's a couple of others locally in like the city. So it's always good to ask your loan consultant what opportunities are out there.
Yeah, so I know that I'm a member of the Chelsea EDC. I happen to serve on that board, and they have had home ownership program classes, and also those type of opportunities where you could get additional resources and financial support. So we should check those out. And there are several other EDCs in Atlantic City, for example, that people could look up, take advantage of those great opportunities for home ownership. Tell me a little bit more about new home buyers, right? And I know we talked about those barriers apply to everyone, but what should especially new home buyers be paying attention to?
Well, needless to say, again, their credit, as you were saying, savings is really important because, to give you an example, even with New Jersey Housing and Mortgage and Finance Agency, they're still looking for you to have at least 1 month mortgage payment as a reserve. And there's, some things that even if you are getting an assistance program, that you still have to pay up front, like inspections, appraisals, holding the house, and things like that. So, working on your savings is really important. Job stability is also important as well. And thinking through when you are acquiring debt, do you really need whatever it is that you're applying for? Right. Sometimes I get customers that come to me and say, "Oh, I wish I had known that before I went and got a car payment for a car I didn't need." Right. Gauge
you probably
your
didn't
debt.
need that luxury car. You probably could have got a smaller car, right? Then pay less on your monthly payment and have less outstanding.
I'll work with anything, but if you were to ask me, like somebody that I just met or knew, or what advice I will give them, this is pretty much what I will say.
Let's talk a little bit about the issue right now is in terms of the market, right? Some of the data I've had from Zillow, is that home prices have jumped since 2017 till
Correct.
today, like almost doubled, right?
Correct.
In terms of the value of the ownership. Is it still a good idea to buy a house versus renting?
I can tell you, and I think I like answering questions with samples, like real life samples of people that I come across all the time.
Right.
What I'm finding that nowadays is, for example, rent prices have gone up. And some of the clients that come to me say, oh my goodness, if I'm going to be paying that for rent, might as well pay for my house and pay for myself. Something else that I'm seeing recently is, oh, my landlord, is going to be selling the house that I've been renting for XYZ amount of time, whether it's a long time or a few months or a year. And he asked me, he let me know, so I'm going to have to move out. Where do I go? I had a client actually that, or somebody I was speaking to with, and he had moved twice in a 2-year span. With children and having to be mindful of the school system and things of that nature. So it really it creates a stress on the family, and just even onto a single individual. And such a difference on having your own place that you can come in, and that's your permanent address. That's where you're staying. That's what you own. I remember when I had about a 10-year gap that I didn't own a property. In 2016, I had bought a condo. And I think I gave Michael, your producer, a picture of me holding the keys, smiling wide. There's definitely a sense of, like I said in the beginning, a sense of purpose. And you have to gauge if it's the right time for you. There's opportunities out there.
You made a great point. Rent prices have certainly skyrocketed the same way that home ownership prices have gone up. So that's one thing that needs to be considered. The other thing as well is when you're renting, you're not building equity like you mentioned previously. So by buying a house, you are obviously building a portfolio in terms of building wealth, and it's a great investment. I think a lot of the younger folks do see that. It's something to think about, investing in your future, and certainly home ownership is a good way to do that.
And I don't know if I can answer what is this the right time? I think the answer is it the right time for you? Are you ready for it? Have you done your budgeting? Do you feel ready? And sometimes you have outside forces that push you to be ready, as we're discussing, like rent prices and having to move from place to place. I hear that one too. Some clients have come throughout the years. I've been renting here for 10 years. At this point, I would have been halfway, or a good way, to owning the place.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. This is a lot of great information in terms of obviously helping people to become homeowners. Very, very important. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Hispanic Association and be more involved in our community. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare. For more information, call 1-888-569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world, and South Jersey Gas.